Hello and welcome to another tutorial brought to you by VF20 Designs. Today I would like to do a tutorial in NewTek Lightwave, Modeler, and Scene Editor about how to sculpt a pumpkin. So what I'm going to do is inside a modeler, I'm going to go ahead and just start with a ball, and once I have that ball I'm going to zoom in, and what I want to do is select points every so often of the vertices that are through it. So let me zoom in here. And I'm going to go through and select points, skip 2 rows, select points, skip 2 rows, and continue all the way around doing that. And I will select these. Well, I'm off a little bit, but I'll fix that. And you'll see that with these points, I can go ahead and bring in to make the ridges of the pumpkin. Let me deselect some points, and then basically all I'm going to use is just the stretch tool. And the stretch tool from the top axis is going to let me have that kind of ribbed effect that a pumpkin has, and you can see here. Now what I'm going to do is kind of tuck in the top and then the bottom, and by selecting those and stretching them towards each other, I'm going to create it to where the kind of at the top it recesses and the bottom it recesses, so we can have the stem and the stalk and everything. So this is pretty much just basic point selecting and manipulation. So here, subpatch, you can see it's starting to look somewhat like a pumpkin. Now what I want to do is on a different layer is start to build the stalk or stem that's coming out of it. And I'm just going to use a disc here, get it roughly the size that I want to get it, and then randomly just kind of select points going over top of the more random the better, and stretch those in so it creates an odd stalk so it doesn't look so symmetrical. And you can even do that to the pumpkin itself. So I'm going to size this and position it on a different layer, and then I'm going to go ahead and put some cuts through it using Shift K. Then by selecting certain points, I'm going to thin it down and make it kind of, with some natural alterations, make it look like it's a natural stalk. The trick here is to make it look random, and the more random the better. It looks more natural. So I'll just select some points, do some stretching and some curving here. Let me go ahead and get this to where it kind of comes out a little bit. I've also seen it the other way. If you've seen, there are many different types of pumpkins that are long. This is kind of just a quick and easy version. So now that I have kind of a shape of like a stalk, what I'm going to do is just start going to my polygon mode, selecting certain aspects and tweaking them, deselecting them, and then rotating them again. Now what I want to do is I'm going to bevel the top here, the shape, into kind of a point. And what I want to do is select all those points, and then by pressing M, merge those points together so it forms something we can actually subpatch that doesn't spit an error. So I'll now select them, stretch them close to each other, and hit M, fixed, and give some distance and merge those points. What I'm also going to do is kind of select the bottom polygon, get rid of it, and then subpatch it. So hit Tab, we go into the curved out or subpatch mode, and then I want to define this stalk as a different surface and give it just a brown right now. And you can see already we have something that's kind of the shape, pretty quick and easy. What I want to do is merge those onto one layer and then save this object. When saving this object, I'm going to save it onto the desktop so we can load it in the scene editor. So I'll just give it a name, and we're good to go. Now inside the scene editor, I'm going to go ahead and load that object, which I just saved, and then kind of maybe put it on the plane so it's at a normal viewing distance. And what I'm going to do is just create a basic scene here, select my camera, move my camera while I'm in camera view, set it to where the pumpkin's in the middle, then select a light. Go ahead and give it 50% light. What I'm going to do is clone 2 lights, and what I'm going to do is kind of a cross lighting effect. It works better than just a normal spotlight. So you have like a 50% light crossing over another 50% light. It's going to light the this object much better when we start to render. So now I'm going to go into the surface editor and give it a basic orange surface. What I want to do is give it some specularity, some glossiness, and what I'm going to start to do is add textures. And this is kind of like Photoshop. You can add oranges and browns and different reds, and then using different procedural textures, you can actually give it the effect of a natural skin. I'm kind of fond of Corollas. It has a lot of different applications, but use whatever works for you. And then using these layers, I'm going to blend them together, multiply them, or just add them, adjust their opacities, and go through and pretty much just try to create a fleshy pumpkin look. And I'm doing this, mind you, without a visual pumpkin reference. So, and then what I want to do is go ahead and give it some bump to it. I'm going to do a combination of two different procedural textures for bump maps at two different percentages of bump, and that's good. Now I'm going to go ahead and move down to my stock and give it some bump, as well as giving some, maybe a slight brown to it. That way it just doesn't look like a solid. And so we have just some visual textures here, some bumping, and some lighting effects on the surfaces that are defined. Then what I'm going to do is go ahead and do a test render, save the scene first, and then save the objects first. And now go to my render options, turn on my shadows and all my optimizations, and just do a test render the image. So we got something that looks okay. It still looks a little plasticky and maybe specifically not like a real pumpkin. So I want to get some more orange in there, maybe get a red and multiply that to where it actually looks like a something more akin to a pumpkin shape. And then re-render, and oh, too much red, so kind of back that down a little bit. The cool thing about, when you're getting objects and you set up a simple render scene like this, it's just a camera and two cross lightings, you can kind of just play really quick with a quick renderer, and then do a final render where you really kind of turn up your anti-aliasing and subpatching. So let me go ahead and add a little bit of brown to this and age it a little bit. Maybe back off of that a little bit, reduce the percentage, and let's see, and then I'm going to go ahead and take the specularity down a little bit on the stem, and then we got something that looks like a pumpkin. And there you go. Simple, easy. I'm going to go ahead, turn on my anti-aliasing, and do a better render, and there you go, a pumpkin in 8 minutes.